Hello, hi, welcome once again to M5's new English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV screen to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. Okay now, do you all recall what we learned in the last lesson? Do you remember that Dave met Alfredo in the pub? You do? Great. Now what was wrong with Alfredo? That's right, he had a hangover. He was hung over. Now, there were some new words that we heard in the conversation, weren't there? That's right. We know that Alfredo had a hangover and a cold, but he also said that he was in the doghouse. Have you got any ideas about what that means? Well, what do you think it is? Do you think it's positive or negative? What did Alfredo say before he said it? Correct. Before he said that he was in the doghouse, Alfredo said that Mary wasn't happy with Alfredo. Mary was angry with Alfredo because he didn't come home until 5 a.m. When he did come home, he had a cold and he was drunk. Mary's not happy that Alfredo went with her brother to the pub in the evening and only came back the next morning at 5 a.m. Mary spent her New Year's Eve with her kids, but Alfredo, her husband, was not there. Alfredo and his brother-in-law were in the pub drinking, and then they went to Gordon's flat and continued drinking. Alfredo only came home after Gordon fell asleep, and Alfredo sat down on a park bench on the way home, fell asleep and caught a cold. So, when Alfredo says that he's in the doghouse, it means that his wife is not happy with him. She's really not happy with him. Now, what else did we learn about Alfredo's night out? Well, we learned that he and Gordon drank beer in the pub. Then, in Gordon's flat, they drank a couple of cans of beer. Gordon only had a couple of cans of beer. So, when the beer ran out, they drank wine. First, Alfredo and Gordon drank white wine, and then they drank red wine. When the wine ran out, they drank spirits. Alfredo drank gin, vodka, whiskey, rum and brandy. Gordon fell asleep on the sofa, but Alfredo finished the bottle of brandy before he went home. Now, before we go any further, I think it's time for you to meet an old friend of mine, Enid, the eccentric, elegant, eclectic, electric eel. Now that we've reached a high enough level, Enid's going to help us with our everyday English. Enid, the stage is all yours. Take it away. What ho, people! Hello, hello, it's me. I'm Enid, the eccentric, elegant, eclectic, electric eel. I'm here to help you all with some examples of everyday English. Now, today we're going to look at pubs. Are you paying attention? Alfredo? Good. Now, Dave Squid talked about different types of beer. In a British pub, you can get lager, pilsner, bitter, cider, and stout. Lager and pilsner are German-type beers. They're yellowish. They're carbonated. They've got bubbles. Pilsner has got a more bitter taste. Bitter is a dark red color and isn't carbonated. It doesn't have bubbles. Cider is an alcoholic drink made from apples. Stout is a kind of strong, dark beer. Guinness is an Irish stout. Now, when you go into a pub in the UK, do you know how to ask for a drink? You do? Good. Normally, people ask for a drink in two ways in the pub in the UK. People say, "Can I have a?" Or they say, "I'd like, please." These two phrases are very useful and they're both very polite. Good. Now, if you'd like to order a beer in a UK pub, you also need to know what size of drink you'd like. Beer in the UK is sold in pints and half pints. A pint is approximately the same as half a litre, and a half pint is approximately the same as a quarter of a litre. So, a pint is like a Hungarian korsó, and a half pint is like a Hungarian pohár. Good. Now, there is another sort of beer drink that people sometimes drink. Shandy. Shandy is beer mixed with a soft drink, normally lemonade. Okay, one more bit of information and then I'm off. When you go to a pub in Britain, there is no table service. In British pubs, there is counter service. This means that if you sit by a table and wait, you won't get a drink. They have counter service. This means that you have to go to the counter and wait to be served. You stand at the counter and the person working behind the counter will ask what you would like. Normally they ask, "What would you like?" But they could ask in different ways. "Yes? What'll it be? What can I get you?" It should be obvious what they're asking. After you tell them what you would like, they bring your drink and you pay them. You pay the person at the bar immediately. In British pubs, tips aren't normally included. If you want to, you can tip the person behind the bar. You can give them some extra money, a tip, to say thank you. In Britain, people don't pay at the end of the evening for all their drinks. Every time you order a drink, you have to pay for it. There and then. Okay, well, I hope my examples of everyday English was helpful. I'm off back home now. Toodaloo, pip pip, cheery bye! And thank you, Enid. Well, that was very handy, wasn't it? That was very nice of Enid to help us with some everyday English. And don't worry, she'll be back next lesson with some more advice about everyday English and how we can do things in Britain. Okay, now, where were we? Oh yes, we were talking about Alfredo's New Year's Eve. When Alfredo talked to Dave Squid in the pub, we heard that Gordon fell asleep on the sofa and that Alfredo finished the bottle of brandy and walked home. It took Alfredo 2 hours to walk 2 kilometers. That's a very long time for a very short distance. Dave Squid said that a dog with 1 leg could walk that distance in that time. Now, before we continue with the story, let's just think about what Dave Squid said. He said that a dog with 1 leg could walk that distance in that time. Now, when we talked about ability, and possibility, do you remember what word we used? That's right. We used the word can, didn't we? We used can to talk about ability. Now, what Dave Squid said was exactly the same. He was talking about the ability of a dog with one leg to walk 2 kilometers in 2 hours. He didn't say can though, he said could. Could is the same as can, but in the past. For example, now I can run 100 meters in 20 seconds. When I was younger, I could run 100 meters in 15 seconds. In both sentences, I'm talking about ability, but in the first sentence, I'm talking about now, and in the second sentence, I'm talking about the past. Okay, let's practice using can and could. Let's decide which is correct, can or could, for the following sentences. Yesterday, Alfredo was hungover. He felt very ill. He vomited 3 times between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m. He go to work. That's right. It was yesterday, so he couldn't go to work. Dave Squid was very tired last night, but he sleep. Bingo! Dave couldn't sleep. He was very tired, but he couldn't sleep. Tim Benchfield is standing at the door of a shop. His arms are full of shopping. What does Tim say to the shop assistant? You open the door for me, please. Brilliant. Can you open the door for me, please? Okay, so back to the story of Alfredo's New Year's Eve. Okay, we know that Alfredo finally left Gordon's flat after Gordon fell asleep. Alfredo finished the bottle of brandy and then walked home. When Alfredo was walking through the park, he sat down on a park bench and fell asleep. He slept on the bench for an hour. When he woke up, he was soaking wet. He wasn't damp and he wasn't wet. He was soaking wet. He was wetter than a blue whale's socks. As a result, Alfredo caught a cold. He was coughing, sneezing, and now he's got a sore throat. Poor Alfredo. He's got a hangover, he's got a cold, his nose is blocked, he keeps sneezing and coughing. His throat is sore and he's in the doghouse. His wife, Mary's, not speaking to him. Now, when Dave met Alfredo, he was in the pub again. What was Alfredo doing in the pub? Well, he was drinking. What was Alfredo drinking? He was drinking beer. When Dave asked Alfredo why he was drinking beer when he had a hangover, Alfredo said something about a dog, didn't he? Alfredo said, a hair of the dog that bit you. This is an old English phrase. Originally, it was connected to the disease rabies. People said that if you ate or drank a hair from the mad dog that bit you, you wouldn't get rabies. Now, people often say that if you have a hangover, you should drink something alcoholic to make the hangover better. Okay, great. So we know some information about Alfredo's New Year's Eve party with Gordon, his brother-in-law. We know that Mary, Alfredo's wife, is not happy. Alfredo's in the doghouse. We don't know if Mary is angry with Gordon. In fact, we don't know if Gordon is okay or not. When Alfredo tried to phone him, his phone was turned off. Hopefully, everything is okay with Gordon. Well, we'll have to check on Gordon later on. I'm Gav Duncan, and I'll see you next lesson. And don't forget, you can also catch up with the other English lessons at www.m5tv.hu. See you later. Bye.